watching the Staten Soccer Report. And don't forget, Monday Live.
You are watching the Staten Island Soccer Report. Don't forget, Monday Live.
Ho dedicato la mia vita, i momenti più felici, a inseguire un sogno, il mio sogno. Quante volte mi hai deluso, non importa, io ci credo e vivo il mio sogno. Nei momenti tragici, nell'asperità, noi che siamo vicini, noi restiamo ancora qua, con il cuore impallido, con la dignità di chi ha un grande spirito, di chi ama la città. Ma oramai è più di un secolo, noi ci rivolgiamo a te.
There you go. Welcome everyone to a brand new edition of the Staten Island Soccer Report, coming to you not live today, but from the studios of CTV. Alongside me, we got Frank. As always, Frank, thanks for coming on the show. Behind the glass, we got Brian and we got Kenny. Thank you to those guys. Without them, as always, there's no show. Frank, I know it's been hectic. We just actually got in the studio and sat down. Bang, we're recording. So, a little craziness going on, but all good. A lot of stuff going on in our lives, but we try to get the show. We try to do a new show every month. So, Frank, what's going on? We'll start with your team. We'll start with the rec, and then we'll move on all the way up to the pros.
Okay. Pleasure to be here again. Always nice to be here every month, or whenever I can. Whenever Brian will let us in. The rec just finished last weekend. They had on Saturday, September 10th, they had senior day for all the graduating. We're anticipated to be graduating 8th graders, which was kind of a whole day event. Each team played. They gave away sweatshirts to all the graduating players. Last year they did it a little bit differently. I think it was the first time that they had a senior day. Right. They usually have the senior night, in May or June.
Right. That's what I'm used to seeing.
They did like a senior day in addition to that. Last year they did it at the end of the season in November. This year they decided that they wanted to give the Staten Island Soccer League sweatshirts out at the beginning of the season. This way the kids could wear them.
For
the last season, whatever. So that was pretty nice. They gave us most teams get an extra game out of it. So anytime you're on the field, more is better than less. Obviously,
definitely.
Like we just spoke about a little while ago. As far as the Great Kills Fever, we were playing. We were lucky enough that the team that we were playing, the St. Teresa Angry Birds.
Angry Birds.
Angry Birds.
Were they angry during the game?
You
Where'd they get that name from?
You could say that from the score. Now, through the years, you always used to hear things like hurricanes, tornadoes, and those were some basic names that you heard from different clubs.
We had a different name way back when. We had the Rush.
And
that was given to us. We didn't select that name.
Yeah, I think Richmond Town had some more unique names. Some of them are just generic names. Storm. You see a lot of different clubs use those names.
The Angry Birds. Angry Birds on the Staten Island Soccer Report. Yeah, okay.
I guess you could say, like you said before, that they were a little angry. They did come out we were down 4-0 at the half. We were playing with only 9. Mm-hmm. They played down to our 9, but did have 2 subs in addition to that. So on a hot day, first game of the season, only really a few practices underneath your belt, some new players on the team. So we kind of we were down 4-0 at half, made some adjustments.
Right.
We came out and we scored a goal. They scored one, we scored another one.
Right.
They scored another one. the second half was 2-2, which was a little bit more manageable, and that's what I reminded the team. Look, made some adjustments. It's going to be hard to overcome a 4-goal lead, especially without any subs on a hot day. You first all playing together. At least when we made the adjustments, we were able to play even, and hopefully build off that going forward.
Yeah. It's always tough when you're short, players. It's always tough. I've had that experience, so I know what it's like. And I think I'm going to say what Vincenzo used to always say. Did you learn anything? Oh, no. I'm sorry. I'll go back. Did they have fun? All right. And then what did you learn after that? Fun, I think, is the most important, especially at the youth level, and in the rec league, right?
Yeah.
So did they have fun at the end of the day? And what did you guys learn to carry over for the next game? So.
Yeah. And I think, they did. They realized that, we closed up some of the holes on the defense.
That's it, yeah.
And
I think I spoke to you. That's right. I texted you before the game. Just shut it down. Just try to, when you're in that type of a situation where you're shorthanded, I always, regardless if it's going to work or not, you start everyone just defend.
Yeah.
Just defend. I know how long are the games for you now?
35.
The 35 and a half, right?
Yeah.
So it's a long time to defend, and the kids are probably not going to get it. You understand it, but you start out that way and you see how it rolls after that. Most of the times it's probably not going to work where you're just going to sit back and just kick the ball up or kick it out, kill time.
Well, because there's also, like I call it, the kid element. They're not pros.
Yeah,
You're not going to keep, your player in for 80-something minutes of the game and then take a sub for the last 5 minutes. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
The substitutions aren't permanent. It's a revolving door.
Yeah.
They're kids, the attention span sometimes, and the focus. I think what our main problem was, I think sometimes when we'd go to attack, some of the defenders would go too far, and then they couldn't get back
and then
in
they got
time.
caught. Yeah.
And then you get caught with, like, let's say, a speedy forward that blows by them, and nobody
can't recover.
got to cover it. Yeah,
they can't recover.
And I think that was.
All right, like I said,
issues.
At that age, just have fun. It's your last season, right? You got the fall and the spring coming up.
That's it.
And you just make the best of it. That's all you really could do. Speaking from experiences, because we just ended something, right? And we went out on top, which is the best thing. Hopefully something like that could happen to you, if not this season, in the spring, And if you don't, again, it's just having fun at that age. Just have fun, What are the 8th graders?
Yeah.
Right. So have fun. Let them have fun. And if you got one or two that want to go all the way with this thing, it's even better. To the next level. We spoke about some kids want to go to the next level.
Yeah.
So, hey, that's good. But I think for now, at that age, just keep working.
Yeah.
Just keep working.
But you could see who's committed by.
You could tell. Yeah.
How they practice. If you have a line, and this isn't anything.
Yeah.
A knock on anyone, but like we spoke about a little while ago, you could see who's committed by how they line up,
hold on.
how they practice.
Yeah.
Are they trying to group with either their friends from school or their friends from another team, and just if you were that really focused, you could see who's a little bit more focused.
Right,
that person is just going to focus on getting better and doing the drills rather than.
Yeah, I think more at that age, maybe they want to be with their friends, but as they get older, if they really want to go far with it, they'll just focus on themselves. You're right. All right, Frank. So the Staten Island Soccer League kicked off last weekend. Still no sound. I mean, I don't know why there's no sound on that, but the show's going to be aired on television, so I'm not sure why there's no sound on.
Well, if there's no sound on there, at least we're good looking. So
yeah, right, exactly. So the league kicked off, all right? So I'm assuming there's a bunch of games going on either today, which is Saturday, and tomorrow, right? You got a bunch of games going on.
Yeah, what they did was like usual, they try to throw out a schedule, to give people a good idea. As far as
Yeah.
plans, people got other things going on. Again,
Right.
you got that element of kids and families and things like that, and then they revamp,
Yeah.
half the schedule for most of the teams. And,
Yeah, I don't get
you
that.
know, the thing is, it's hard because, and I understand when I went to the meeting the other night,
Yeah.
and when they explained it, it's hard because you're trying to give people an idea what the schedule is going to look like, but you still have registrations coming in.
Right.
So unless you truly lock the registration,
They should.
and then you're denying kids the chance to play because their parents are late. So I understand.
Well, not if you send the message out clearly a month ago, like a month before the season starts. You send out a clear message, and you make sure people see these messages. You get them to their houses. Either you mail them, right? You got their addresses from previous seasons, right? So you send out a mass mailing, or you put flyers up everywhere. Everyone's on social media today, Facebook, whatever, right? Put a billboard up at the mall. Put a sign up. Do it that way, I guess.
And then there's always talk of, charging more for late registrations or giving an early registration.
So you're saying the recession is hitting soccer also?
Well, the thing is,
Everybody's
you're just noticing,
Everything's
with
going.
more sports becoming popular too.
Oh, yeah.
So, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, soccer's always going to get the bad end of the stick, we'll call it that.
Well, beside that, even the other sports just get split.
Yeah.
And the more you split something,
it always seems to me like soccer gets pushed aside. Like if a kid wants to take up another sport, they push soccer aside. They'll go to that one first. It always felt that way to me.
Well, yeah.
My kid can't come to practice. We got a softball game, or we got a basketball game, or a practice. Soccer, we can't. What? You signed up for soccer. Why'd you sign up for another sport if you knew it was going to clash, That's the thing.
What I'm noticing is whether maybe it was at its peak or coming down from its peak. When we first started with the Staten Island Soccer League,
right,
it seemed like, in which we know for a fact that the numbers were up relative to where they are now. Was it coming down from a high point in the 90s, or we weren't around long enough to know that.
Keep it at that. We'll see.
My assumption is that without really having any of that background information, my assumption is, and I had this discussion with a friend the other day, that it may have been at its height when the World Cup came to the U.S.
Yeah.
And then it started building to a crescendo. And then somewhere around the time that we got involved, it started
coming down.
Till now, it started coming down a little bit.
Well,
because of that excitement, the fact that the national team really hasn't,
on the men's side,
yeah, correction, yeah, hasn't performed,
right,
and hasn't elevated itself to where people would have liked to have thought that they were going to be. When was it? It was. The World Cup was here 28 years ago.
Yeah.
And
it'll be back in 4 years. So, but as far as the men's team, now you brought that up. I mean, the men's team is looking pretty good.
Well, thankfully.
I don't know what they're going to do, but they look a lot better than they did.
Well, thankfully maybe this will kickstart another.
It has to. But we've spoken about this, and everyone knows it. It's just too many other sports going on in this country, and that's the biggest problem.
And like you said, soccer's going to be, until proven otherwise, it's going to be on the lower rung. Yep. But even the other sports, football, baseball, basketball, once you split up, it's like an election.
Yeah.
How do you spoil an election? you throw a third party in there.
Yeah.
That agrees with the front runner, and you're able to,
and then you're done. Yeah.
Make second place.
All right, what else is going on with Staten Island Soccer League? You want to mention anything else that you heard the other night or no?
Staten Island Soccer League, from what I understand, what was told to me, that Rich Nellis will now become the Staten Island Soccer League president.
Okay.
Congratulations to him. I know personally he's the face that I see
Right.
at the field the most.
Okay.
Maybe because he's also coaching other teams, refereeing,
Right.
and this isn't anything.
Well, what we got to get Rich? Maybe we could get Rich on. What are his responsibilities as a president? And we know Rich has been doing all kinds of work, right, for the league, scheduling and all that.
Yeah, I think
for years.
I think he finally, from what I've heard the other night, that he finally may have given up the scheduling.
Well, and I know that's been crazy, right? So who's doing the scheduling now? So these are the things that Staten Islanders want to know. But anyhow, we'll see down the road if we could get him either on the phone or in studio, whatever. He's been on the show in the past, so. But yeah, congrats to Rich. But what are the duties of a president of a soccer league? That's the question. What are the duties? What do you do? What's his job? So. Like you said, you see him a lot, which is a good thing, right? That's always a good thing.
Yeah, he's very visible.
We've seen past presidents also. I think the only other person that you and I might know is Bill, right? As a president.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, Rob was
also in there for right. So okay, all right. What else on the Staten Island Soccer League?
They're pushing, obviously, and rightfully so, a zero tolerance policy.
Which is good.
Which is good.
Let's just hope parents, look. I say it all the time on the app, on the page. Respect the game, respect the referee, and respect your opponent. You really need to just play your game. We know it's going to get physical. We know kids are going to bump each other and trip. We get all that. You get up, let the referee do his job, make a call, right? And parents need to just cheer for their kids. Don't get into it with referees. Coaches don't get into it with referees. Look, it's not perfect, Frank. Am I gonna sit here and say a referee is gonna make every single call the right call? No, he makes mistakes, or she makes mistakes too. We get but like you said, zero tolerance. The referee could throw you out. You're responsible for your parents.
Yep.
You get the red card. You're gone. He's got to do all the paperwork. Who loses out in this? The game gets stopped. The kids are looking and watching this nonsense going on. So let's just stop the nonsense. Play the game. Respect the game, the referee, and your opponent.
And the worst case scenario, I would say, almost it should be 100% of everyone's minds would be when adults are addressing players from another team. That's even, to me, that's even worse than.
Well, you got Benny on the Facebook page saying that the meeting should include the parents also. Well, I don't know if they should include the parents because the coaches go back and explain everything to the parents. So, right, they're like the messenger. So you're a coach, you're a messenger. Again, the bottom line here is, and I'll say it 1,000 times, parents, I hate to say it in a rude way, but be quiet, cheer, and that's it. Do not speak to the referee. Do not ask him questions. Don't get involved. Don't curse. Just cheer on your kid. The coach could ask questions. Right, let the coach, if there's an issue, let the coach deal with it.
And for those parents that know the game that well, I don't care. I'll plead you on the side of the Staten Island Soccer Referee Association. Yep. Please become a ref.
Right, there you go.
If you know the game that good,
good point.
They're short refs.
That's a great point.
They're more than welcome, and you get paid.
Look, you know what?
You get paid.
Right, that's a great point. Be a referee. If you think you know the game, become a referee. The only other thing I would say, what these parents are doing, the ones that are vocal and want to curse out the referee and all that stuff, you're scaring the younger ones from coming back to referee, like the younger referees. You're scaring them. They don't want to do the games because they're afraid of parents, acting crazy on the field. So let's just stop that. It's a beautiful game. All right.
And Benny's right. He's saying hit them in the pockets.
Well, yeah, you know what? You can hit him in the pockets. That's fine. But I think at the end of the day, you're still going to get the parent that's going to talk, nonsense. And I don't care if you know the game or not. Like you said, Frank, if you think you know it, become a referee instead of cursing a referee out. Your kid is playing a game. Go watch the game. Let the coach handle any fouls or any stuff like that. That's it. End of story. Cheer. You go to a stadium. You go watch a football game at MetLife Stadium. Are you yelling at the referee from all the way up top? You know,
But even if you are, which we've all been to professional games, no matter what sport it is, and yell and scream and bad call and this and that.
Yeah.
You're dealing with kids.
Exactly.
They're not paid. This is not professional. Most of them are never going to be professional.
Yeah.
In your mind, everyone's mind, you know, they can't.
You play the game, and at that age, we're talking about your age, you know, your kids' ages, you know, 8th graders and stuff like that, and even younger. You just have fun. Go there. You take your pictures. You're happy if your kid scores a goal. You're happy if your kid's team wins, and you go home. But again, Frank, just they, you know, even coaches. I'll even, you know, talk to the coaches too. Coaches feel like they have every right to curse out a referee too, you know. So, as a coach, and look, I coached travel for 4 years, and I went to Jersey, upstate, everywhere. I have never received a yellow card. Forget about a red, okay? I never received a yellow.
And as parents, we tried to get him a yellow.
Right. So, and you couldn't do that. So again, you know, pride yourself as a coach on not receiving a yellow instead of trying to receive a yellow, okay, or a red. But anyway, on that note, we don't want to waste too much time. But again, that's the most important thing at the beginning of every season. Parents, coaches, respect. Just respect the game and your opponents, okay? I can't say it. I stress that enough. I can't see what Benny's writing.
He says he don't agree with the coaches being responsible.
Oh yeah, well you're right, because you could have a parent that's a hothead and it's not going to listen to you, and it's going to do whatever he wants, and you're responsible. But you know, it's been like that for years. I don't know if the league is ever going to change that. You know, the coach is responsible for the parents. It is what it is. You know, you have a meeting with the parents. You know, and you got to stress to them, if you guys get out of line and you're cursing at, arguing with a referee, I'm going to get tossed. The team's not going to have a coach. And who loses? The kids lose again.
It's the only thing I'll say is it's very hard, you know. And it becomes a difficult situation from everyone. Everyone, I'm sure, knows that one person, whether it's on your team or not, it could just be a friend or an acquaintance or somebody you work with, that's just a loose cannon. That no matter how you try to mold them and control them, and as a coach or even as other parents, they may be screaming at that parent, stop, and unfortunately, you know, you may not.
It's funny because I thought I had that at the last game, at my last game as a coach. I thought I had that, like one of my parents were yelling at the referee, but it turned out to be was the other team, which thankfully I would have been shocked if it was one of mine, but it was the other team. So again, you can't control people like that, but you're right. But all you could do is have a meeting with them and just stress to them how important it is for them to just keep their cool. You know, speak to you after the game about something and not yell at a referee or curse at a referee. It's just important. And let's all be leaders. As parents, right, you bring your kids to a game, you don't want to show them this craziness, you know.
And another thing, too, that was talked about was just the fact that, you know, again, just as I know you want to wrap up with youth, but what's important to realize, too, is that a lot of parents think that they know the rules, and this was discussed too, as far as giving a bump or a kind of
handball. They don't know.
It's allowed if you're playing the ball. So parents already, my kid got knocked down. It's like they said, it's a contact sport.
if you bump and shoulder to shoulder is fine. One kid may take a fall.
If you don't like the contact, play golf.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, maybe they should just read up on the rules and stuff like that. All right, so I mean, we could spend probably 2 hours on just that topic alone, but we have a lot of other things that we're going to skim through. Good luck to everybody at the Staten Island Soccer League, all the teams playing this weekend and the rest of the season, boys, girls. And again, I want to say, like, it's not the players. The players are pretty good. I think it's the coaches and the parents. Not all of them either, right? But there's a couple that, and I can understand when you're playing a game. Let's just for instance, when you're battling for first, right? I can understand that's a tremendous game, and you want the best out of the referee. I get that also. I understand that, and the referee's got to be on his. He doesn't know what the standings are. Most referees are not going to look at the standings for the games that they have, so they don't know the situation. So they're just refereeing. But you always want the best out of the referee. I understand that, but we're not. No one's perfect. They're going to miss calls. It happens from the lowest level all the way up to professional. It happens all the time. Even with the video replay, they miss calls.
I mean, let's face it. You know, it's funny you mentioned the video replay. Okay, realistically, like for these parents that want every call right.
Brian, keep it there if you don't mind. Keep it there.
How would you?
Keep it on that.
How would you work that out?
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's get video replay for a youth soccer game. Okay, does everyone want to pay X amount of dollars for your son or your daughter to play 8 games of soccer? Then it becomes unaffordable to people that can't afford. Well, everyone's doing the best they can with the resources that they can.
Exactly.
And to suggest that it's got to become to the point where every call is perfect, and like you said, the video, even if you got video replay,
there's been
as ridiculous as that would sound for a youth game, whether it's soccer or any other sport, the cost would be astronomical.
Yeah, no, it's just crazy to have that.
And it wouldn't be perfect either.
Yeah. So, Frank, at the end of the day is, teach your kid, just respect. It all starts with the parents, I think, and the coaches as far as getting into any issues with the referee. Let the referee do his job. And if there's a referee, okay, I'll even say this, if that's not doing the right thing, was making bad, whatever, you have a report as a coach, right? You could jot it down and let them take a look at it. Let the guys in charge, let them take a look at it. Well, if you feel the referee's has done something wrong.
That was another thing that was discussed just on the referee side. Instead of always focusing on making a negative report for a bad referee, also they want to hear about
both sides.
Good reports for really good referees. Yeah. And obviously the middle, maybe you don't have to report everything, If it was good or bad either way, like extremely good or extremely bad, that's something that they want to hear about, which I think is a good good thing for the referee association too, because it helps them.
There's a bunch of good. Look, there's a bunch of good referee, good people. There's a bunch of them. Do I know every single one? No, but I know there's a bunch of good guys, and they're trying to do their best. All right, during the game. So that's all I could say as far as they go. But as far as that, Frank, we'll wrap up with that. Let's cover some high school soccer. We got some of the women's high school soccer schedules here. I'll just say this again. Of course, Wagner is the biggest team on the island, right? We'll say, because they beat everybody every season. They beat everyone. I don't know what. I guess everyone goes to Wagner. Like all the best players on as far as the girls' side, they all go to Wagner and Tottenville, right? So, it's really no surprise that Wagner's going to win 7-0, 9-0. And to me, that means 0. What happened last season in the semifinals with Wagner? You didn't win, okay? So the focus should be on trying to get past that. And these games, you're winning 9-0. Is that helping you in the playoffs, winning 9-10? You got to play these games, right? You have to play them, right? So, no surprise with Tottenville, Wagner on the girls' side. The next show we'll do the boys, but there's no surprise with them. They'll get to the playoffs. They'll get.
We know you're partial to the girls' side.
Yeah, well, obviously
having
girls and coaching my daughter and all that stuff. I'm always focused on what girls are doing. And listen, it's a girls' world. It's a woman's world, right? They rule the world basically. We're just here living in it. So basically. No surprise when it comes to Wagner, although they did lose, some good seniors, right, from last season. I don't know if they're able to, but again, that's across the board. You could run down a couple scores. They played like 2-3 games if you want to.
Now, see, to your point, before I run down the scores, to your point about winning 8-0 or 6-0, I just don't understand. Maybe it's just me not getting the concept. Okay, I just don't understand. Although unless it's a goal differential issue.
It is.
Oh,
No.
okay. So they do that.
Yeah.
So having said that, I can't even make my statement about if you're playing in a game that's that lopsided.
Yeah.
Why don't you give other players experience? Because again,
they want to pad their stats.
You're gonna need them down. You may need them down the line.
Yeah.
1 or 2 players get hurt. That player's not used to being in the game, or you're practicing, but there's no practice like a game.
Yeah. No.
Like a blowout game.
Right.
And I just can never get that. And I've been through that with coaches.
Yeah.
From like 7 or 8 year olds all the way to 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
And but again, with the goal differential, I guess I do understand it.
But
if
Frank,
that's going to make it a difference.
At the same time, Frank, and I'll go back to you and I have been coaching, like we started a long time ago. And I always like to compare us to Bill Parcells and Belichick, even though you probably don't like Belichick that much. But still.
It's all right.
But
I'll take it.
Bill
I'll take it this time. Just this once.
Right. Bill Parcells and Belichick, right? So, the 9-0, Frank, I don't care if it's goal differentials or not. You put in after five zip, and you know the feeling of a game, that what the team is going to do to you, right? You already know that going into the second half, right? If this team is going to come back on 5-0, which they're probably not. So yeah, you dump the famous line. You dump the bench. You pull your players and you keep them focused. When you pull a player, instead of leaving a player in there to score 4 or 5 goals a game for that one player, right? You're really not doing any service. You pull that player and you have that player think, now that player is dying to get back into the next game, not this game, the next game. If you play a half of soccer, 45 minutes, and you're up 5-0, there's no need for your star player to be in that game. That's just my opinion, right? And I think it matters for a lot of coaches. You're up 5-0. Your best player now, Frank. Now, the goal here is to win city championship, not to win Staten Island championship, because that means nothing.
Or to pad your stats.
Yeah,
You're
right.
padding stats individually.
That don't mean nothing to me. I'm your coach. I don't care if you have 20 goals or 1 goal. We need to have 1 goal in mind as a team, and that's to win the city championship, which we haven't done in maybe the past 20 years. Okay? So, again, if I'm coaching, egos out the door. Okay, great. We're up 5-0 half. You take a seat. You take a seat. My backups are coming in, and let them play. And that's it. That's just my way of coaching. I would do it at every level.
Because you never know what happens.
And you're saving that
You could
player.
light a fire under a player
that
normally doesn't play.
Think about that, right? So think what I just said. Now, that star player, right? You get them during the advances, interviewing them and all this stuff, right? They score, and they're sitting for 45 minutes. They're burning to get back onto the field for the next game. And then you're also saving players. It's a long season, and they play a lot of games, bunched together. Again, the goal is the city championship. No one cares about you being the best on Staten Island.
Suppose one of your star players gets hurt.
Well, there you go.
You're blowing somebody out.
Well,
I
didn't even mention that, but yeah, that's another thing. You're right.
Suppose they get again, kids getting exhausted, professionals get exhausted at the end of the season.
All right, so it really doesn't.
Okay.
We spent a lot of time on the rec, so we're not going to do high school soccer on the women's side, on the girls' side, on Staten Island. We know the top 2 teams, Tottenville and Wagner.
So let's just real quick.
Yeah.
Let's just give a brief summary of Wagner so far. 4-1 win against Curtis in game 1. 6-0 win against Newdorp in game 2, and an 8-0 win against Port Richmond in game 3.
Yeah.
With game 4 coming up on September 23rd, which is
next
this
week. Yeah. So I think it's Wagner, Tottenville. If you want to list them, we don't have the standings, but it's probably Wagner, Tottenville, and maybe Curtis being like the 3rd best team on the island. Betrides is nothing anymore, and I didn't even see CSI's high school team there.
Okay,
they dropped out, so that tells you there's just not enough players to make good teams for the island. So it's city championship or bust for Wagner, or nothing, because nothing else really matters. What are you proving by winning these games 7-0? What are you proving?
You're putting the coach on the hot seat?
Yes, it's city championship for Wagner or nothing. And if Wagner can't get the job done, maybe Tottenville can. You know, because they're right there with Wagner. It just depends on the day. Like those two teams, right, the top two on the island, who has the better day when they play each other?
Yeah.
And I think they're playing each other 3 times this year. It's on the schedule 3 times, which is because one team probably dropped out. So, you know, good luck to all the teams on Staten Island High School, boys, girls, you know, on both sides. Good luck to all of them. I know the season just kicked off a couple weeks ago, so good luck to everybody. And again, it's the same thing with them. And I don't even like the referee system on high school. We spoke about that last. That's another joke, but that's for another show. You know, they use the two-man referee, which is totally ridiculous. You know, and then we're going to get into the college now, and that's another joke too with the referees, the way they use the referees there. So with the high school soccer, Frank, we'll move on from that. Let's jump into college real quick because we're down to about 20 minutes to go. All right, there's 3 teams that I did some looking into. We got CSI, which is here, Wagner women's, and we're sticking. The theme actually should have been today, like women's soccer should have been. But yeah, CSI, we got Wagner College, and we have we'll take a Jersey team, which, you know, it's pretty close. Rutgers is not far from here.
Yeah.
Right, and they're doing some great things over there, and it's worth noting, you know, and mentioning. And besides the fact that they do have 2 girls from Staten Island on that team, so that's big too. All right, we'll start off with Wagner. You know, just read what's going on with them. I don't think overall, I think they're not having a good season so far. But
overall, they're 2-7. They got a losing streak of 4 currently.
What's going on, Roy? Say hi to Roy. He's on the Facebook page.
Hey, Roy.
Yeah, Wagner. I mean, again, you know, you got the stats right there. You got the 4-game losing streak for Wagner. You know, the 2-7. They started off, I think they were like 1-1,
2-3, and then, you know, anytime you get 4 losses in a row,
that's tough. But I really don't know much about that whole program there. You know, I haven't seen a game, which I'm gonna pick up one of those games are on ESPN Plus. So I'm gonna catch one of those games at some point. All right, let's jump right into, because again we're pressed for time. We'll talk about CSI, and I did catch one of those games. All right, and we'll talk about them next. CSI, I did catch one of those games, and just trying to keep this, you know, I guess polite. Not that good. All right, as far as from what I've seen, and. They're a team. They're 0-4-1, Frank. They haven't scored a goal.
Ouch.
They haven't scored. Now, when you play 5 games and you don't score at the college level and you don't score a goal, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, what would you do as a coach? I mean, you got to find something. So you can't win a game if you don't score. They had a 0-0 tie there, but. Again, I seen the games, and the losses were, I think, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, and 5-0. So they got a taste. The last game they played was 5-0 last week, and they don't play again until, I believe, next week. So you got 2 weeks to think about your season so far. You're 0-4-1, and you haven't scored a goal. I think that's the most toughest part to deal with, that you can't score. So since CSI is, you know, struggling to score goals, I got a message for them. If you need a goal scorer, reach out to me, hit me up. I might have somebody for you. All right, but we got to work out some details on that. So, other than that, Frank, we'll move on from CSI. Again, good luck to them the rest of the way. Hopefully, they could turn this thing around, scoring goals. You got to score. You know, if you're going to tell me you're struggling, then you can't give up any goals, right? If you can't score, you can't give up. You want to tie every game? Good luck to you. Go ahead, go tie. Or if you want to score a goal and then, you know, shut them down, go ahead. But you can't give up 4 or 5 goals. If you can't score, you're never going to win any games like that. All right, so end that. I think you got Rutgers. Let's go. Let's just mention that. I mean, Rutgers is doing, I think, some amazing things. I mean, we're talking about.
Just 8-0. on an 8-game winning
If Roy's
streak.
still on there, if Roy, I think what are they ranked in the country? Right? Is it 4th in the country or 6th? Something like that. They're up there. So yeah, read off their stats, Frank. Go ahead.
8-0 on an 8-game winning streak. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. And 2 players, like I mentioned, from Staten Island, they're fourth in the coaches poll. All right,
Fourth.
that's fine. I mean that's great, and I think they're playing today, right, Roy? They're playing today at home, and they're 5-0 at home. So hopefully it'll be 6-0. I think it will be. I think they're playing Ohio State today, and they'll give them a nice loss, hopefully. So good luck to Rutgers.
You want to shout out names from Rutgers, from Staten Island?
You got them.
We have. Well, I don't know. I know Roy's daughter, Gianna, right?
Yeah, I don't think do I have the other names on there?
I don't see
No,
it
I
here.
don't have that. I don't think. I don't. I didn't print out the other.
I know
Unless Roy has it, he could print it and we'll mention. Yeah, Ohio State today. Yeah, first big time. Okay. Look, I mean, just go undefeated.
Oh, okay. So it's Gianna Romano from Staten Island and Cassidy Banks.
Okay.
Just give them a little shout out from
Right.
Staten Island.
There you go. Bring it home. Let's go. I'm looking for an undefeated season from them. Undefeated. They could do it. I've been watching some of their videos and again, bunch of good team. Well coached also. All right. So good luck to Rutgers today. I know they're playing today. All right.
Tomorrow, he said.
Is it tomorrow? Oh,
Yeah.
my bad. Okay.
Got to
tomorrow.
keep up, John.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much stuff going on. You're right. I got to keep up. All right, so we'll put an end to the college soccer, right? So on the professional side, we'll talk about, again, today with the Derby going on, we got the Red Bulls and NYC FC, Frank. And I'm bringing this hat into the picture here on the Facebook, not on the Facebook side. Well, here's the Facebook side. But Wednesday night, they played this Champions Cup, which means the MLS champions versus the Mexican champions. They played on Wednesday night, and New York won that. I think it was almost $300,000 per players. They received for the winners. So a nice another trophy. They got 2 trophies in 9 months. NYCFC, of course, as you know, Frank, I'm a big supporter of NYC. At 1 o'clock today, we got to get out of here. I got to get home to go watch that game. They're playing the Red Bulls, and we must. I mean, it's a tremendous game. I mean, they're 4 points ahead of us in the standings. As you could see here, let me see. I know I got their standings here somewhere. Yeah, they're 4 points ahead of us. So again, it's a tremendous game only because the top 4 teams host the first round playoff game right at home. So you want that. We're not going to win the division because Philly's way ahead of us. But just get in. Last year they didn't. They weren't. I think they were like 4th in the division and they won the cup, right? So just get into the playoffs on a roll. After this game today, there's going to be a 2-week break for national teams, right? So you win this game, you rest your players, right, and you come back and you make that run again like you did last year. Hopefully, I mean, New York City, Frank. Let me give you. I don't know if you're aware of this, but they lost their head coach. He went to another team overseas in Europe. All right, they lost their best player, the best goal scorer, the guy who was leading the team the last couple of years in goals. So they did that, right? And that's hard enough, right? Those are Wagner's scoring. So that being said, that's hard enough to absorb from a team, right? When you lose your top player and your coach, right? Now add in the fact that they play at 3 different stadiums, also. I mean, how could you get like any kind of home field like advantage when you're playing at Citi Field, you're playing at Red Bull Arena, right? Which I don't think they've won a game over there this year playing as the home team at Red Bull Arena. And then they played a game in Connecticut, right? And then they played at Yankee Stadium, obviously. So all these different venues, it just doesn't work. Obviously they feel the most comfortable at Yankee Stadium. They've been there the longest. But when you throw them at Citi Field and then you got to go to Red Bull Arena, it kind of screws things up a little bit, I think, for them. But Wednesday night, they won that game at Yankee Stadium, and it showed. They know that field more than anyone else. the dimensions are not like the other fields are. I think it's a smaller, so they know how to play on that field. So I think today, it might be their last game at Yankee Stadium. I know they're going back to Harrison in Jersey for a game. So again, like I said, today's a tremendous game for NYC. They have to win and knock out this Red Bull team that's really, I don't know, Frank. It's just it gets worse and worse as the days go on with the Red Bulls. And now we talked about it on the way here today. The Jets and Giants, there's really no hatred, right, towards the teams. And there's a tremendous hatred for Red Bull and NYCFC. For some reason, I don't know what it is, but there is. There's just a hatred there. So, but hopefully they get the job done today at Yankee Stadium at 1 o'clock, and then we'll take the 2-week break and come back from that. So, all right, I'll go down the standings. Phillies in first in the East, Montreal, and then the Red Bulls, and then NYC. All right. They got their last game today, I think maybe even tomorrow, and then the break. And in the West, you got LAFC, which is battling with Philly for the best record. They're 2 points behind. So LAFC, they got the big names. They got an Italian all-star there, Chiellini, which I don't even know why, because he doesn't even really play much. He comes off like the bench. But anyhow, they're right now like the favorites because they're both on top of their conferences. But it means nothing. Just get into the playoffs and make a run. We got the women's standings here. As far as the women's go, I'll speak about Gotham real quick. We only got about maybe 10, and then we'll go down. Terrible, as you can see, Frank. They're in last. They're in last place. From my opinion, the reason for that is, I would definitely blame. All right, Roy's out here. I definitely blame management, and I know Eli Manning is part of ownership now, because they let a lot of players go, a lot of good players. They traded players from last season, and just couldn't get the job done this year. They're terrible. They're just terrible to watch. It's just it is what it is. They're in last place, and it shows. Kansas City now, Frank. Hey, and I don't know how they got this done. They were in last place last season, so they turned it around. Okay, they just took the table and just flipped it. They signed players. They don't even have top national team players on their team, but they're winning, as you could see.
Well, just looking at the goal differential.
Yeah.
They're -2 in the goal differential.
Yeah.
So it means that they're winning
Close
games.
Well, they beat Gotham last week 1-0. So yeah, they all win. But you know what matters? You get the 3 points. If it's 1-0 or 9-0.
It's very interesting though that the top two teams.
Well, there's
on the positive side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
catches your eye right away.
Yeah. Well, look, when it comes down to the women's league, I think I think it's the top 6 that get in. Yeah, it's the top 6. So that's the line. And you could see these teams are still alive. I don't know if this team is, but those teams are still alive for a shot. LA's an expansion team. San Diego's an expansion team, which has Alex Morgan on that team. Again, not really. We've seen Morgan win so much. Like, I don't even want to see her winning, with San Diego anymore. I like Chicago, to be honest with you. They have Mallory Pugh on that team, another national team player. And, she's the future of the national team, right? So she's another Morgan, put it that way, So I'd like to see her do well. Morgan, it is what it is, The defending champs, Washington from last season, Frank, as you can see, I don't know what it is. Why can't you keep? If you won a championship one season and the next season you're not even going to make the playoffs. They're at 16 points, right? The cutoff line is 30. They're done. They're not making that playoff. They're not making it. And they got some good players on that team. They got Rodman's daughters on there. She's a great player. Well, can't get it done. All right, so Yeah, you run down the top 6 teams on the women's side, and then I'll look at.
All right, we
let's
got
see.
KC.
Yeah.
We got
Portland. Yeah.
San Diego.
San Diego.
Houston. Chicago.
OL Reign. That's OL Reign. Okay. And that's with Rampone. You know who she is. The purple
Yeah.
dye hair. Yeah. She's the face of the national team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some face, that's for sure. So, did I print out the... I thought I printed out the Italian Serie A, but you know what? I don't see it here. Napoli is a shocker being on top of the Italian First Division. And I was talking to a couple people about Napoli. They say that Napoli could win it this year, although there's a long way to go. But so Napoli sits on top of Serie A, and we'll see what happens. There's a long way to go. A tremendous win today by Bari. You know, another reason why we were running a little late today, because I was watching that game. But they're undefeated in the second division in Italy, which is, I'm not getting excited. A long way to go. You know, the season doesn't end until May, so there's a long way to go with that. Now, Frank, I came across this stat here. This little note, I guess. Players being burnt out. Because don't forget, you got a World Cup. In the next show, we could talk more about the World Cup coming in November. Now, you're playing a season, right? And you're going into a World Cup. It's just they're worried about top players getting injured, actually. You know, when you get burnt out, it's a lot easier to get hurt, right? Below a knee and then whatever. Hopefully that doesn't happen. So, yeah, I don't know. This headline came across today. Let's just hope teams can manage the plays like we spoke about with the high school, right? When you're up, if a team is up, pull these star players out. Do you really need Cristiano Ronaldo in a game when you're up 3-0?
Well, the thing is, with the pros, it's a little bit different because the substitution method isn't.
Yep.
It's free and.
But you can still pull star
but
players. But the thing is, like, so if you're Ronaldo, right? You know you're playing for Portugal in November. You want to go to the World Cup. God forbid something happens to you now. You're done. You know what I mean? Something severe, and you're done. So maybe even as a player, I'm like, Coach, you know, we're up. Take me out. You know, if you don't need me, second half, we're up 3-0.
Yeah.
I want to sit because I'm saving myself, not only for our games, but for the World Cup. Yeah. So it's a strange year because the World Cup being in November. So, you know, I think they could save players also. You know, I know coaches probably don't want to, especially, because it's a job for them. And if we're tied, I need my star players.
You got to be like the NBA, you know. You don't got to play every game anymore.
Well, yeah, that's another. Yeah, we won't get into that. So, all right, with a couple minutes left, Frank, I think we did a lot. We covered a lot on soccer. Brian, any updates on Germany? No, because we know. Wait, he had the England shirt on. Yeah, you had it on the show a couple years ago. England, right? Yeah. So as far as England goes, I mean, they're in the group with the United States, so we'll see what happens with that. But you know, let's jump over to you know, a little football, and actually a little baseball first, just so we can wrap it up. We got another 2 minutes there. We'll wrap up. I know you're Mets, big Met fan. What's the story with the Mets? How are you feeling?
Again, when you're saying burnout, I'm thinking of when Dawes saying the other night.
Burnout.
Saying we're tired, we hit a wall.
Man,
you know,
that's crazy.
It's not like it used to be. Guys aren't going to play 150-something games anymore. Yeah. You know, star players are probably going to play, I'm going to guess, around 130. Just is what it is. Yes. You know, sports, basketball, same thing. It's not going to happen anymore.
It happens in soccer, too. They rest players all the time. Like, say, if you have that midweek game, you play Sunday and Wednesday, you're not going to see the same team.
You know, as far as the Mets go, you know, they hit a little bit of a swoon in, you know, late August, early September. But it looks like hopefully now they're back on the uptick, which is a good time to hopefully start peaking again. You know, it's only a 2-game winning streak, but the problem is with them, you know, it was great. You went out, you tried to make some moves. What'd you do at DH? You created a disaster. You know, Vogelbach, yeah, he's fun, his energies, this is that. But you got a one-dimensional player. Yeah. You know, he can't play the field. You're going to pinch run for him. If he gets on base, he's home run or bust. You know, basically. If he gets on base, he tries to walk. What's he going to do? Like
you got to pull him, right?
I heard this morning on the radio, and it was true. It takes 3 base hits to get him around to score.
Because he can't.
Because he's only going to go base to base. Yeah. So it's just, you know, you traded for him, you got him, you picked him up, whatever. But it's home run or bust in that whole DH situation. And you know what? I like the fact that this goes to show that you can never be too sure about anything. Met fans and just all baseball fans. Oh, the Mets are going to be so great. Yeah. Once they get the DH, it's really going to favor them. It's really going to favor them. And guess what?
It's not working out.
They
1 minute.
basically got nothing DH, you know?
All right, so Yankees blew a 5-0 lead last night. We're not a sports talk show here, but, you know, notable scores from last night. 5-0 lead they blew to Milwaukee. Milwaukee's fighting for a wild card spot.
Yeah.
So they're not a bad team.
They dropped off a little bit, but now
they were a game out when I looked. But Yankees, I think they'll be all right. Just get into the playoffs. I think they're just looking to get into the playoffs at this point.
They're still one of the top teams in the American League. No matter what's happened, high, low.
Giants, Jets. I said in the beginning the Giants are not going to have a great season, although they won that game dramatically last week because the kicker missed the field goal. Giant fans need to relax. The guy missed the kick. That's the reason why you won. Okay, if he makes it, you own 1. Believe me, I've been a fan for a long time. Relax. Act like you've been there. Anyway, respect the referees, respect the game, respect your opponent. As always, Frank, thanks for coming on. There's the music. Any last words?
Speaking of R, Sal's taking receipts.
There you go.
Have a good day.
We'll see you guys on the next show. Oh, man.
He's taking receipts.
All right, Facebook.